Math 92, Chapter 10. Chapter 10, there are just 10 problems and mainly talking about how to calculate square root of the number. So let's say you want to find square root of 9, okay? When you have a radical and you don't see any number here, the root is 2. We normally do not note root 2. So when you don't see any number here as far as the root, then you just put 2 here if you want to. So, and where do we use actually the square root? Let's say, what number to power of 2 is 25? What number to power of 2 is 25? So you know that number is 5, because if you take 5 to power of 2 means 5 times 5, correct? Or if you have x to power of 2 equal to 9, what number to power of 2 is 9? Of course, there's always plus or minus, but here we just talk about the plus. It's 3, because 3 to power of 2 is 9. Now, the other way to find this, if you want to use your calculator, is if you take the square root of these numbers, like here, a2 is equal to, let's say, 16, right? If you put a radical here and a radical there, when you use your calculator, square root of 16, calculator shows 4. Okay, so like, you know, it just depends what kind of a calculator you're using, but like this one, there is a function here which is a square root right there. I don't know if you could see it. See that one? And to use, you don't need this kind of fancy one, but when you do that, calculator shows this sign. See that? This is a square root. And if you put 16 here, it gives you 4. It's useful when you have something like this. Let's say you have a to power of 2 is 21. See, it's not easy to figure what the a value is. What number to power of 2 is 21? So basically, if I want to find that number, all I need to do is take the square root of 21. You take a square root of 21. So here, you have, again, you find the radical on your calculator. You put 21 here. See, it gives you a decimal number, 4.58. You see that? 4.58? 4.58. That's why we couldn't guess that, because it's hard to find the decimal number. All right. So the other way to do it is this. If you want to find the square root of 9, 9 is 3 to power of 2. This number is root of the radical. This 2 is exponent, and 3 is the base. If exponent and the root, if these two are equal, then you could release 3 from the radical. So what is the square root of 9 is 3. You know, 361, it's 19 to power of 2. So if you use your calculator, you take 19 and multiply by itself, it gives you 361. And these two are equal, so 19 is released from the radical. Let's say you have square root of 4 over 9. This is a fractions, right? In case of fractions, you could kind of split this into radical 4 over radical 9 if you want. And when you use your calculator, radical 4 is 2 and radical 9 is 3. So if you have fractions under the radical, this is how you could find the square root of that. So here there's an example here, which is 64. 64 is radical 64 over 81. 64 is 8 to the power of 2. 81 is 9 to the power of 2. Now, both numbers are released from the radical. But since 8 is at the numerator, it has to stay at the numerator. 9 is at the denominator, so it stays at the denominator. So radical 64 over 81 now is 8 over 9. Here I have minus radical 16. This negative is outside of the radical. It has nothing to do with this radical. So first we take care of this part. What is radical 16? Radical 16 is 4. And then you leave that negative sign before that. So minus radical 16 is negative 4. Now, what if I have cubic root of 27? Root is not 2, it's 3. So if the root is not 2, you have to note that. So 27 is 3 times 9, and 9 is 3 times 3. So 27 is 3 times 3 times 3, or 3 to the power of 3. That's what 27 is. But look, now exponent and the root are equal. So 3 is released from the radical. So what is cubic root of 27? 3. Now, what is cubic root of negative 8? Negative 8 is what? It's, I show it here. Negative 8 is negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, right? Because when you multiply all three of them, they give you minus 8. So you're allowed to write it as negative 2 to the power of 3. 3 and 3 is equal, negative 2 is released. So if the root of radical is odd number, is okay to have a negative number here. So if you use your calculator and say, what is cubic root of minus 8? Calculator would give you negative 2. But what if the root is positive? I mean, even. What if the root is even? Can I have like negative 9? No. Root is even. If I use my calculator and just find square root of negative 9, see what happened here. And to have negative 9, I use these functions to put a negative 9. Okay, so look. What is the square root of negative 9? Enter. Error. Calculator would give you error. Why? Because can I write negative 9 as negative 3 times negative 3 or negative 3 to the power of 2? No, because negative 3 to the power of 2 or negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9, is not negative 9. You see? So if the root of radical is even and you have a negative number under the radical is undefined, or if you use your calculator, it gives you error. So what is square root of, let's say, minus 16? And if you have a 4 here, undefined. Why? Because the root is even. If the root is even, you cannot have negative number. You cannot write this as minus 2 to power of 4. This is wrong. Why? Because minus 2 to power of 4 is not negative 16. If I take negative 2 and multiply by itself 4 times, what do you get? You get positive 16. You don't get negative 16. See that? That's why. That's why if you have an even number, you cannot have the negative under the radical. You cannot write it like this. Negative 2 to power of 4 is not negative 16, it's positive 16. But if you have an odd number, it would be okay. Like here, show you on this corner here. What is fifth root of minus 32? Can I write this as minus 2 to power of 5? Minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2. 4, 8, 16, 32. Yes, because it gives you minus 32. Okay? So yes, if the root is odd, then the outcome is negative 2. Means you could release negative 2 from that. Okay. So that's why in this problem, square root of negative 4 is the error, is undefined. What is square root of 33? Just use your calculator. The square root of 33 is that number. You know, you just say, all right, I use square root of 33. Boom. 5.744. What is the square root of minus 25? Remember, if the root is even, if the root is even number, you cannot have a negative. So that would be undefined. Now here, they have this radical is given, radical x2 plus 18. We had these problems. Radical x2 plus 81, I'm sorry, 81. They are saying take x equals 0 and substitute here for the x. So what do you see when you do that? You just 0 plus 81. 0 to power of 2 is just 0, it's gone. Radical 81. What is radical 81? 81 is 9 to power of 2, so 9 is real. If you don't see any number, it means it's always 2. Normally for the 2, we don't write it. That's why when you use your calculator here, show you. See, the calculator, when you are using radical, it doesn't have any root. When it doesn't have any root, that means root is 2. In these problems is radical 1 minus 4a. They want us to take minus 1 and substitute for the a. See, the problem is this. Radical 1 minus 4a. They want us to take a out and put negative 1. So it would be negative times negative is positive, radical 5. These problems, science class determined the rock drop from a height of h feet taken t second is modeled by this. This equation is given. They give you equation which is t equal radical h. Let me write it here. This equation is given. T is radical h over 16. In the first part, they are telling you that h is 56. Height, this is height. And the unit for the height is feet. They're saying find the time. How long would it take the rock to fall when dropped from 56 feet? That means h is 56 feet. So all you do is you put that one here for the h, and you use your calculator, you divide this first, and then take a square root of that number. That gives you 1.87. Second part, B, is very similar. They're just saying in the second part, they're saying h is 100. Okay, same thing. You put that here, you divide it first. So you could do it this way. You could do 100 over 16, right? So here you just say, all right. This is radical, right? Since you want to put that fraction, I always open a parenthesis under. Is 100 divided by 16, and then close the parenthesis, see? Put it in the parentheses. Under the radical, you have 100 over 16, and in that case, you enter. Oops. Oh, I put additional bracket here. You see that? Okay, let's try it again. Open a parenthesis, 100 divided by 16. Okay. 2.5. And that's what you have on the second one. Okay. So there were many problems in chapter 10.